This is the Washington Times front page for Wednesday, July 7th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has resigned, brought down by a steady stream of personal and policy scandals. Johnson was forced from power by an open rebellion in his own Tory party ranks, with dozens of ministers and top party officials saying they could no longer serve under him. Johnson indicated he plans to stay on and lead a caretaker government while his party selects a new prime minister. It's unclear which of Johnson's rivals within the party are most likely to succeed him. Labour Party leader Keir Starmer said in a statement his party would press for a formal no-confidence vote against the government. The House Appropriations Committee has approved an amendment to a major spending bill that would ban funding for work in China by a New York-based group linked to research at a Wuhan laboratory. Bill Gertz reports the fiscal 2023 appropriations bill for the State Department includes language to restrict any spending in China for EcoHealth Alliance. It's a group whose president worked closely on gain-of-function virus research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The institute's work is at the heart of a global scientific debate over the origins of COVID-19. The amendment was drafted by Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler and passed on a voice vote by the committee on June 29th. The amendment says the Secretary of State can waive the funding ban if the support is found to be in the interest of national security. The American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists says the White House isn't warning the public about the dangers associated with allowing at-home chemical abortion medication to be delivered by mail. Valerie Richardson reports doctors with the organization say women should undergo in-person examinations to determine how far along they are in pregnancy before taking the pills. Other groups disagree with that position. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists called the new rules allowing for the drugs to be prescribed via telehealth methods a safe and effective regimen for medication abortion. Voters unenthusiastic about a Trump versus Biden rematch in 2024 are increasingly open to switching from the Republican and Democratic tickets entirely to an independent candidate. Susan Ferricchio reports 2 recent polls show a majority of Republican, Democratic, and independent voters would consider a moderate independent candidate if President Biden and former President Trump run again. The Harvard Capps-Harris poll of registered voters, taken at the end of June, found that 60% would consider an independent candidate in 2024 if Biden and Trump are the nominees. Among Democrats, the number rose to 64%, while 53% of Republicans say they would weigh an independent candidate. Among independent and other unaffiliated voters, the number willing to consider an independent candidate was 66%. Speaking of 2024, former White House counselor Kellyanne Conway says that if Trump is to run, the bid should not include his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Dave Boyer reports Conway claims Kushner is reaping billions of dollars in business ventures from his status as a relative of the former president. She made the comments in a webinar held for Washington Times subscribers. Kushner formed a private equity firm that has reportedly received a $2 billion investment from the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund. He was largely absent from post-2020 election challenges, opting to devote his attention to an attempted peace deal in the Middle East. And finally, the public expects far more than journalists are delivering when it comes to equal treatment of news stories, according to a new Pew Research Center poll. Stephen Dinan reports only 44% of journalists say every side of an issue deserves equal coverage, according to the Pew survey. Among the broader community, though, that number jumps to 76%. Online journalists were the least likely to be interested in equal coverage. Television journalists were the most committed, with print and radio reporters in between. Additionally, those who've been journalists the longest were more committed to even treatment than those new to the profession. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/frontpage or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at WashTimes for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.